buy this one.
You don't want it now?
Add to your collection?
Yeah, I would like to add this corgi to my corgi collection.
How are you? This is David with Miracle Canine Training.
Well, I've been better, but...
I know, I heard. So what's going on? So Kayla kind of filled me in, I believe, a couple of weeks ago on your situation, and then I know she mentioned just now, like, something is going on, that something really happened today, or you're seeing more intense behaviors?
Yeah, I had called you guys probably 6 months ago because he was starting to show signs of aggression.
Sure.
He had bitten my mom. It was pretty much resource guarding. We could predict when it was going to happen. But unfortunately, if we put ourselves and put him in the situation, that's when it happened. You tried to take food from him or a bone or something like that. That's when he would bite you. This morning, I went through my normal routine. We were all getting ready to leave the house. I put him in his crate, and my daughter walked up to the crate, was petting him, and all of a sudden...
Was she just petting him in the crate? Was the door open? Was the door closed?
The door was closed. He was in it. She just kind of had her fingers in there petting him, which has never been an issue. He's always been totally fine with us around him, just because it's a comfort thing. And he started, like, growling at her.
Yeah.
He didn't bite her, but he started growling at her. So they all left, and I walked back up to the crate, and he was kind of fine. He just was laying there. And I left, and my dad came over in the morning, or came over after that to get my other daughter off to school. And he couldn't even get within 10 feet of the crate. He was just like he was going to attack him.
This was your dad, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
And
this is who he bit on New Year's Eve, right?
Yes, but he typically loves him. Even before, during, after the bite, even when he bit my dad, he said he immediately stopped and almost looked remorseful, like he knew he'd made a mistake. Yeah. And, like, my dad comes over my house every single day, so he's kind of like one of the family. It's not like somebody new. Whenever my dad comes over, that's one of his favorite people.
Yeah.
But he couldn't even get by the crate this morning.
Yep.
So I guess I'm at the point where, is this, even if this is something that I could manage, is this probably something that's more just in his brain, and there's not really a solution.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? So when you get into behavioral issues that are of this capacity, right? So like aggression issues, particularly serious, like what we would refer to as like handler aggression issues, meaning like he's displaying this behavior towards like the people in his home, not just outsiders. You know, I always say that is, regardless of how successful you are in working through it, that is a genetic defect, right? That is not normal, right? It's not a normal behavior for a dog to display. So keeping that in mind as you go to work through these types of issues, you could individually develop better relationships with these dogs and make sure the dog, respects us individually enough to not display that behavior towards us, but you're never going to make it completely go away. Right? You could learn to successfully manage it, right? And you could learn to manage it to a pretty high level just through how you expose him to different situations, how you communicate with him, things you do with him, things you don't do with him. I mean, frankly, and I don't say this in a way to blame you, but a lot of the situations you've kind of described to me, had we had better management systems in place, a lot of them would never have happened, right? Particularly the situations in who's all handling him and what situations you're having him out. Like, obviously on Christmas Day, you made the right call on keeping him in the crate. But, like, any scenario when you're going to be having guests come over your house that do not live in the house, and even though I know you said that he has a good relationship with your father and he sees him pretty regularly, that's still an outsider to him, right?
Well, this is all new.
I know, but it develops over time. Right? So it's not like you're going to see this immediately, right? It's, one of those things where, your dad essentially is an exciting new person that's coming to the house that he, served the purpose of, fun and entertainment and stuff like that to your dog, but he's still not viewing him as one of the household, right? That's just not how dogs work. They're not able to develop relationships to that capacity as far as their, like, internal pack, right? At least not as strongly as humans do, right? So even though it may have been fine up until this point, over time through to a progression of, him rehearsing this behavior and it going unchecked, him rehearsing this behavior and it accomplishing the thing he wants, which is a lot of times to make the person go away or to gain control of situations, it just continues to spiral out of control and like snowball until it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, and you start seeing it get this point where it's like, we can no longer even manage it, and I don't know what sort of things you've tried to do so far from a training standpoint as far as working through this. I don't know, obviously, who you worked with, nor is it relevant to me at this point, obviously, because we're obviously not seeing the success we're looking for. But, really, you kind of have two options. One option is accept the fact that we have a dog that's very out of control right now. We probably can do some training with him, but it's going to take essentially a lot of commitment from you guys, a big shift to the things you're doing with him and how you're doing with him, and have some really hard and firm boundaries as far as this is how we're going to keep him successful, and this is how we're going to make sure we're not putting anybody in a vulnerable position where anybody is going to get hurt with things, right? Which is, like I said, primarily going to relate to how you're handling him when you have guests come over. That doesn't mean you're necessarily going to isolate him forever, but there may be rules as far as when he is out around guests, he has to be, in command in certain situations, or we're not letting people interact with him in certain ways, or whatever we determine that may be, obviously. Or you consider, we don't want to have to completely shift our life around this dog, and maybe this isn't the right dog for us, And I'm not here to make that decision for you, obviously, because we've had clients go either way with it. People who have been very successful in learning to adapt to the dog and manage them better, and find a pretty good life that they could live out with that dog, right? And then we've had people that have done the opposite, and regardless, it's your guys' choice, and it's okay either way.
It's not that I don't want to try everything.
No, I understand. Yeah.
But I'm concerned about the safety of everyone.
Of course, and that's a big variable at play. And like I said, especially when you're dealing with, I think you said you have a couple children in the house, and obviously the dog is currently being aggressive towards you guys in the house. As we start to work through these things, there's a very strong likelihood that behavior will still display itself at some point before you finish working through this. So that's kind of that's the hard part about this situation is there's no there's no guarantee of just how far you'll get with it, right? And that's where you have to weigh those internal risks and see what's our risk to reward here of what we're willing to tolerate,
So then the other option is just euthanasia because nobody else would take it, correct?
Yeah, you cannot rehome a dog like this.
Yeah.
Obviously just from an ethical and liability standpoint. And these are conversations we have with people fairly regularly, is this situation. There's no easy solution for it, unfortunately, It's just something where I always tell everybody, can it be improved on? Yes, right? But again, you have to ask yourself, what is an acceptable amount of progress that we would be willing to accept with with a certain amount of risk we'd be willing to accept. And, in cases where it sounds like, you have a family, right? You have a lot of different people that may be, kind of in and out seeing the dog from time to time. And that's going to make the situation much harder for you guys to manage than if you were just, you and your husband just by yourself and, didn't have a lot of guests and stuff like that, right? Everybody's lifestyle makes this stuff harder as well sometimes.
Right.
Let's take her out first. We're just going to do 10 to 15 minutes with her. Okay. And then we'll just kind of make our way through a couple of the dogs and see if we can do shorter, quick little tidbits with them.
Oh.
All right, I want to see 3 good beds. So just jump right into duration with all of these. I want to see 3 good bed stays in a row, 3 good down stays in a row, 3 good come commands in a row.
Do you want me to generalize beds or whatever? Okay. Bed. Good.
You using much food with her or no?
Yeah, I've been alternating it.
Cool.
Good. Okay. Bed. Good. Good. Okay.
It's pretty good. See these little psychos down there?
Okay. Down.
Wild children. All right, this is the best looking come command I've seen out of a lot of your dogs in a while. Like, this looks good. I think you've worked through a lot of the setbacks you were having before. This looks good. So one thing I'll see a lot with dogs like this, and the reason why we don't correct for a lot of this stuff initially, is because these dogs will get themselves into this headspace, especially after a lot of like really firm training that may have been done, where they get put into this zone where they just don't feel like they can move, right? So dogs, if they feel like they have an option of fight or flight, right? And if the dog truly is reacting this way out of fear, which we could tell he is, right? If it weren't, he would be committedly trying to attack these dogs in these situations. If flight is not an option, he's going to be more likely to try to react, to try to create that distance. But as they start to react and we let them kind of cycle through some of these emotions on their own, what we see is they finally start to realize they can move, right? So he laid down, he snapped a couple times laying down, then he got up and he's like, wait a minute, this is different. I'm up now. And we saw that behavior get a little bit more intense initially because it kind of startled him. But over time, how this progression will work is now he realizes he could start to move around a little bit, which means that he'll be more comfortable to actually engage with some of these dogs. Or if he starts getting stressed, he'll start realizing he could actually create distance on his own. And now we see these conflicting emotions. Like, look, his tail's kind of like impulsively wagging, which doesn't mean happy. Let's not misconstrue it. But that kind of awkward, low swish that he was doing there, and how it's going like up, down, teeth bared, not teeth bared, wagging again. This is this like, these are all these new emotions he's starting to feel that he has no clue what to do with, you know? And typically, you know, we're not going to solve this right now, obviously, but we're going to start to see is as he realizes that he could express himself more freely, the stress will come down, which will get him back to that stage where he feels like he could actually socialize and play as opposed to just defend himself because of the attack that he went through. You need to allow him to feel like he can communicate still, but we essentially are raising the bar of what's not acceptable, right? So like once he hits that point where it hits over the edge, right, of just like general communication, trying to keep the dogs out of his space, and it goes to like actually trying to bite them or more like seeking out the problem, you know, that's where we set that boundary for it. But the problem is, like we were talking about before, if we set that boundary too low and we just correct for some of the general communication, then he never feels like he can communicate and can never get past that hurdle ultimately, right? I obviously don't want to just be like shitting on everybody all the time in the podcast, but listen, I'm not above a little bit of drama here and there.
Oh, God.
So, you know, we can blur out names and stuff like that, but feel free, you know, tastefully add in some drama, you know, into this vlog. Tastefully add in.
Come.
Because regardless of, you know, again, I'm not trying to point out certain people, right?
Good.
But these concepts and reasons why we do or don't do certain things and why we don't like certain things that other people do are very important for people to note and be aware of, you know?
Bed.
I really am trying to start like this. I really want this to turn into the Miracle Canine reality show. Like this is gonna be like,
I see that.
this is gonna be like Jersey Shore or something.
Well, if you really want, I could bring some drama.
She just comes running out just like fists ablaze.
Can't do it anymore. I'm too old for that.
Usually I get a vinaigrette, but I'll do.
I'd like some commentary as well.
I'll kind of work through my whole process.
Okay.
So, usually I have a little vinaigrette and I pour it on there, you know? And then I'll get in here and I seal it back up. You gotta
Swish it.
Yeah, you gotta be careful with it though, because if you don't seal the lid up properly,
Sounds like a mess.
oh, it gets everywhere. And then you do one of these guys.
Give it a couple taps.
Mm-hmm. Gets everything from falling off the lid. And boom. Give it one final little mix up and good to go.
And we see so many times good social dogs in the wrong environment. And that doesn't mean abusive or neglectful or anything like that, but just in the wrong environment for that dog, and the dog just cannot be successful, you know? Whether it's children, whether it's a chaotic environment, whether it's too many people in and out all the time, you know, that combination can turn the best dogs bad, unfortunately, you know? Guys, so we are at our final lesson of the day. We are in Medina right now for a lesson with the dog Beckham, who did a board and train a couple months ago. It was a part of kind of like a secret project we did that we'll be announcing here soon. Busy day. Paige has been working on gathering some B-roll, so she did not capture some of the end of my one-on-one sessions with the trainer. We did a really awesome, probably like hour and a half long session with Bridget, fine-tuning some details with a dog we'd worked with last week, who has, man, made a massive transformation. So that was really cool. And just sitting here before we walk in, getting some work done. Obviously, constantly getting messages, text messages, DMs, all sorts of things. Just trying to continue engaging with people and stuff and get some of that stuff situated. So we're going to go in and we're going to kind of see what we get. So, back on. I don't hear any barking. There he is. I see him. No barking. There he is. Look, you see? Putting him on the bed. Step one, success. Hello, hello. Hi. It's not warm out here. Whew. Oh, no. Look at that. Oh, there he is.
I said, David's coming over.
All right. What's happening?
A whole lot of the same, actually. So the walks have still continued to be good.
Yep.
And when we let him out in the backyard do his business, I put this on him and I say, come, and he takes his good old time.
Sure.
He comes.
Cool.
And he's very responsive to he's no.
Oh, that's great.
Very responsive.
Has he been using it more like when he's working and stuff, do you know?
Not as much as we hope.
That's okay. That's all right. That's like big picture, long-term goal.
Yeah.
But honestly, like if everything else is going well, that's the kind of the least of my concern. So,
Yes.
you know, the major issues, it sounds like we're kind of making some headway with.
So just so pleasant. And
Awesome.
Come when called is better.
I know it's cold out, but have you been still seeing other dogs out on the walks and stuff?
Yep. He's been really good. I just say no. I don't even really have to say no. He kind of looks up at me and
Good.
self-corrects. But there's times where I will and like it.
Yeah.
But not like in the past where he would
Yep.
like take the leash and like run. Like try to.
That's fantastic.
Like, he wiggles his little tail like, I want to go, but I know I'm not allowed. So.
That's awesome. I mean, what a night and day difference. You know, that's really cool. Especially, I mean, with the doorway. I mean, I saw him. He kind of ran over. He's like, "Wait, somebody's there," and then he went right on his bed.
I had him in a bed stay when the boys came over, and he got out of bed because Harley just hauled us over.
Yeah.
Tripped over the chair. Then he gets up in the excitement, and I'm literally right here. I'm like back in bed, and he kind of did that thing where like. I don't
hesitate.
He sat down right here, but I'm like bed.
This one.
And I had to kind of shoo him over because he still kind of does that.
Yeah.
And I know you said get closer to the bed, and I'm like pretty close.
Well, that's a reasonable
But I
amount of
think it was
distance.
like-
Yeah.
I think he was just caught up in the moment. He's like, okay, I'll stop right here.
Yeah. Awesome. Very, very good.
That's my only concern, really.
Yeah.
Because that's what
Yeah, I think that'd be my main concern too.
That's what you see.
So, which is all, yeah, like you said, we just have to test it out and see what he does.
Yeah, and the fact that you guys have been testing it with you guys, you know, you've been kind of simulating that. He's obviously, you know, again, I know he knows me once I actually get in here, but the initial response of somebody coming in, that's really where everything falls apart, is if we don't have control over the dog, when they're like, holy shit, somebody's here, they got to like run to the door and
that's
freak out and stuff
exactly
like
what they've been doing since day one.
Yeah. If we don't have the control in that situation, that's where once that person comes in, they're already in this defensive territorial state of mind and they're more likely to react. Where because we have the control, regardless of if it was me or not, I'm pretty damn confident that if I were just some new person, because you were able to get him under control so quickly, that he would not have had a big response still, you know?
Okay.
I think it maybe a little bit more like, who is this person for the first couple minutes?
Right.
But I think he would have chilled out just as fast, I do. So, but you gotta just start putting him in those situations a little bit more and testing that a bit.
Okay, back in bed.
Perfect.
Good boy.
All right, so we're gonna have him hold that bed for a minute. What I'm gonna do is just walk out front and ring the doorbell, and just if he gets up out of the bed, correct him and put him back on.
Sure. Boy.
Pretty good. I know. He's like, I'm a professional. He's like, I don't bark at doors anymore. All right, I'm gonna try that one more time.
Boy. He was.
Not too shabby. Good work, buddy.
He just kind of went,
Good work. Hi, buddy. Hello, dear. How are you? It's so good to see you. It's so good to see you.
You're gonna miss David, huh?
We'll see.
He's a total different dog. And I have you to thank for that.
Good job, buddy.
Amazing
He looks great. You know, I think once the weather starts getting nicer again, and you could start
That's
taking
what
him
I'm
more
looking forward
places,
to.
you know, and you could kind of take him out and test it a little bit. You may run into some hiccups as there's more distractions, and if that's the case, we could do another little follow up with him or something and get those things brushed up.
Park on Saturday. It was sunny and
Sure.
cold, but we didn't encounter any other dogs.
Yep.
But they just ran around. It was fun.
Oh, cool. Is it just a park around here?
Yeah. Just
Cool.
a little park.
Yeah, Greenwood Park.
Yeah.
Just some open space. We both just ran. But they
Yeah.
stayed in the vicinity. Never really had to say anything. He always follows Harley.
Yeah.
Harley will fetch.
Sure.
Yeah.
And he just chases Harley. That's the
He's
thing.
like his little shadow.
Yeah.
But he did well. Like going back to the car, he walked well. Just jumped right back in the car.
Good.
There was never any.
Yeah, and you'll see, I mean, there should be no reason why you guys can't push some of that off-leash stuff with him and stuff. You know, anytime I do that, like even with my dogs, I just make sure before I go to do it, assess the situation. Is there a bunch of people around? Is there not? You know, are there dogs I need to worry about? And then I just go find a nice quiet area to myself and just let them enjoy themselves, you know? That's kind of the goal of all this is,
Yeah,
you know, with my dogs, we like, you know, we'll heel up to the park. There's a little school around the corner from us, and I'll just go let them rip around the field and have a good time, enjoy themselves, and we go back, you
That's
know?
our goal.
And you know, once they have that training on them, and again, you feel confident where we could stop them in situations if they do get distracted by a person or a dog or whatever it may be, then they can actually enjoy those things, you know?
Right.
So we talked about that last time, I think, with simulating in the yard, like when he's
Right.
just free and he sees other things, being able to stop those types
I'm
of behaviors.
looking forward to all
So,
that.
Yeah.
So before he went to you, I couldn't imagine doing any of those things.
Well, I remember, I think Paige was telling me one of your goals was take him to the square.
Right.
Right.
So
I just
there
want
should
to
be no reason
a-
why you can't do
Right.
that.
I just want to be able to enjoy him
Yeah.
outside the home.
Yeah, you know, and we talked about this, you know, it's like a cycle of how they get to this point in the first place. It's like their behavior is so bad so we can't take them anywhere. And it's like we don't
Right.
take them anywhere so they're isolated from stuff. And because they're
Right.
isolated from stuff, everything just spirals out of
And
control,
that's exactly,
you know?
Exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, now that you
Fighting
could...
strangers.
Yeah.
You know?
So I mean, he really looks fantastic, though. I'm pleased. I mean, you guys have definitely done a really good job with maintaining everything since he's been back. You know, a couple little details here and there to continue
It's going to be a work
getting
in
on,
progress
but
for sure.
but he looks
Continue
great.
with everything.
All right, so starting to wrap things up here. Finished up our last session with Beckham over in Medina. Crushed it. That was one of the coolest before and after transformations that I think we've had in quite a long time. Very excited to get all of the footage that we took of him to showcase that with you guys, obviously, for kind of the project we've been working on. Headed back to the facility now. Probably going to get into a couple more sessions I have with my board and trains that I have in. Obviously, we won't be filming that because we're kind of ending the day. It's going to be coming up on 8 o'clock here up here. This morning, we did a really fantastic assessment that we'll talk about real quick because we may have accidentally lost some of the footage from it. So, cut, move to beginning, 11:45 a.m. So, we did, or 10:45 a.m. So we did an assessment with a dog from Parma Animal Shelter who we have not worked with quite a bit yet. I think they may have sent some dogs our way, but we have not really done any work with dogs in their shelter system. And it's kind of goes with the topic we've been having for the last week or so with working with aggressive dogs, the realities of working with aggressive dogs. So they have a Great Pyrenees mix. The dog has been homed out 3 times, has been returned 3 times. The dog is struggling with resource guarding issues. Again, not uncommon with Great Pyrenees. I talked about Great Pyrenees being obviously livestock guardian dogs, basically meaning there's a category of dogs that is bred specifically to be on extremely large plots of land and basically to defend a very large plot of land. So they're notoriously known for having these like really intense territorial issues, guarding issues, and can pose big problems, obviously not given the proper stimulus or not given the proper mental stimulation. So dog is having resource guarding issues, not the most extreme we've ever seen in our life. It's not like the dog is full on trying to kill people every time it has resources, but it has progressively over time started to realize that It can growl, it could snap, it could bite at people to get them to go away and to, keep distance away from its resources. And the problem is they want to do training with the dog, but we kind of got into discussing some of the realities of resource guarding issues, in particular being one of the hardest behavioral issues to work through because it's so freaking relationship based. I was like, I could get this dog to not guard objects from me. I can get this dog to not guard objects from the foster, et cetera, but when you go to rehome that dog and put it into a new home, that whole clock starts again. That dog has to develop the same respect and same level of compliance towards that new person before it's going to no longer do those behavioral issues, right? It doesn't just go away because you've obviously done training with the dog. So you have to find essentially this unicorn owner, which we know so few of them obviously exist, that is going to accept the responsibility and the risk that this dog you're going to adopt is probably going to try to bite you at some point. And you have to be okay with that, and you have to be prepared to address it the second that it happens. And then eventually you're going to have a really good relationship with this dog, right? So it's a kind of a dire situation due to the fact that, God, I don't envy the situation these rescues are in, but it's like, how much in resources do you want to invest in this dog for this maybe that you're going to find this owner that you're going to put them into, and they're going to be okay with it, and they're going to do everything the way that you need them to do so they can come out good on the other end. And then there's an equal percentage of a chance that even if they say, oh yeah, I'll do that, I'm okay with that, the first time it happens and scares them away, they're like, you know what, this dog isn't the dog for me. Then you return it again, and then it's got another red mark on it, and then you wind up just being in a position where you need to euthanize the dog. It sucks, right? And this is a situation or a position that rescues are in all the time, shelters are in all the time, where they need to make these decisions of how do we navigate this, And kind of talked about really the solution is they have to find somebody within their organization that knows this dog, that wants to keep this dog, that's willing to go through the training with the dog themselves, right? Because at least in that case, they're within the organization, so they're not going to be caught off guard once it happens. They already know what the problems are because they know people who have experienced it, and they're essentially signing on to I am going to go through the training. I am going to take this dog through classes. I'm going to take this dog through a board and train program and accept everything that I need to do in order to get out on the other end. And again, that's something that's going to be very challenging for them to do. So I think I have a follow-up call with kind of the head of the organization just to kind of recap things, because the dog came in with kind of a middleman that just brought the dog for us to assess, obviously, and kind of see, what the route is going to be with it. But, again, just getting into this is our job, right? Our job is to help have these tough conversations and help people navigate the options that they have, and help them kind of make decisions, whether good ones, whether bad ones. And this is the behind the scenes stuff that people don't ever see. And this is the reason why we're doing this vlog in the first place, is so you can start to see how much of this stuff takes place, right? You guys see the before and afters, obviously. You guys see the dogs come into our facility and do really well and prosper and stuff. But there's so much more that goes to it than just us get a dog in for training, train the dog, dog's good. Get a dog in for training, train the dog, dog's good, It's deeper than that. So, ending on another good note, I would say. We had a good day. It's a progressive. It's a good day. What word am I looking for right now? Is a motherfucker. What word am I? Is progressive? No.
Use the right lane to take exit 2.
Gage, I feel like I'm having a stroke right now, honestly.
Well, you're driving. I hope you're not having a stroke.
What word am I looking for? That session was really productive. Holy fucking shit.
Take the exit.
I think it was a very productive day. We did, again, I don't think we captured quite as much as we want. I think we still got a lot of really good stuff, obviously, but we didn't capture probably a good chunk of the day of some of the stuff we did. We had some additional one-on-one sessions with our board and train trainers, and just all in all, just the fine-tuning of things has been great. So we're still working out the kinks with this. We had Why am I forgetting? God damn it. We had another productive day. We're going to continue to try to showcase these productive days for you guys. And, you know, hope you guys like it. And you guys will see the freaking vlog that we come up with out of this productive day tomorrow. Peace.